My name's Jennifer Driver. I'm the manager of training and education with Welcoming America. And so first off, I want to thank Democracy Fund and EAC for having me. So the first panel really focused on data and the demographic change. And what we at Welcoming America really focus on is how the communities respond to that demographic change and how we bridge the gap between newcomers in communities and those long-term residents. The people at Democracy Fund didn't realize this, but I'm a big data nerd, and so I really appreciated the data folks starting up front. It was like a warm hug for me, and so I really appreciated that. My friends at this table over here said that if I fall flat, they're going to do a little song and dance, and so I appreciate them as well. And I liken welcoming to music. Because there's something really powerful about music that brings people together. Even from the womb, our parents tend to play music for us. And so I once read that music has the power and the ability to stir the senses, trigger the emotions, and transcend boundaries of hearts and minds. Music is harmony. It's the universal public good that knows no boundaries. John Denver once said that no matter what language we speak, what color we are, the form of our politics, or the expression of our love and our faith, music proves that we are all the same. We start singing music at a very young age, from ABCs to Row, Row, Row Your Boat. There's a commonality in our experiences. As children, we are taught songs that instill in us a sense of belonging. I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. And now, thanks to this talk, you won't be able to get that song out of your head. You're welcome. We learn the importance of being a good neighbor. Remember this one? Who are the people in your neighborhood? They're the people that you meet when you're walking down the street. They're the people that you meet each day. That's right, Sesame Street. Even today, that song has a fairly nice beat. It's still pretty cool. And the all too memorable gray-haired man who changed from the suit jacket to the grandpa sweater and sang, "It's a beautiful day in a neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to be in a neighborhood just like you. I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you." Hi, neighbor. That's right, Mr. Rogers. This feeling carries with us through adulthood that sometimes we all just say, sometimes you just want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where people see troubles are all the same. You want to be where everyone knows your name. Cheers, y'all. I swear that's the last one. These songs of welcoming and lyrics are what we at Welcoming America continue to sing. Welcoming America inspires a new community, a different kind of community, one that embraces immigrants and fosters equity and opportunity for all of its residents. I once heard a photographer and video artist, LaToya Ruby Frazier, discuss music as a larger part of a conversation. And if you haven't heard of her work or seen it, I really strongly encourage you to. It's incredibly powerful. But what stuck out to me and what continues to stay with me are her words when discussing music and humanity. She says, anyone can start singing a song, and we all know it. Music combines us. It's in music that we have a shared humanity. And it's only when people can start to see each other's humanity that we can, and see each other's humanity and walk in love with one another, that we can transcend race and class, gender, and nationality. Fittingly, Welcoming America's song began in Nashville, Tennessee, known as the Music City. In the late 1990s, Nashville experienced a very large, rapid influx of immigrants, mostly economic immigrants from Latin America and refugees from the Middle East and Africa. At first, the response to the growing newcomer population was fairly neutral. Then came the events of September 11th, and fear of the rapidly growing Muslim population increased. There were a series of events that followed. For example, a drunk driving incident in which a Mexican immigrant killed a respected local couple. The climate of fear and distrust intensified. Now, this wasn't just the story unfolding in Nashville. As more and more immigrants come into communities and demographic change happens at high rates, there's a natural fear that accompanies this change. So we began to ask ourselves, how do we help communities sing a different tune? Our strategy centered on three key elements. The first one was contact. Many immigrants and long-term residents have limited meaningful contact with each other. While they may live in the same cities and towns, their lives don't intersect in significant ways, such as workplace or in schools and neighborhoods. Among other factors, language and cultural barriers may continue to contribute to an environment in which both immigrants and long-term residents feel some level of discomfort with each other. This contact theory that is affirmed by science and practice suggests that methods for bringing community members together to promote meaningful contact are critical to build the foundation for more welcoming communities. The second strategy is communication. When a growing number of Somali individuals first came to Shelbyville, Tennessee, to work in the meatpacking industry, they were under immediate suspicion, with perhaps no sector less welcoming than the local media. The media coverage of the Somali community immediately became inaccurate, inflammatory, and damaging the relationships between the Somali community and the broader long-term members of the community. There were no attempts to get to know this group better or to deliver a more nuanced reporting. Rather, the messages were consistently negative and perpetuated stereotypes. When newcomers move into towns, all too often the media sensationalizes the story and assumes the worst about their new neighbors. Now, we can't place all of the blame on the media. After all, the media is simply a mirror reflecting the broader image of society. So there are two underlying issues of public opinions about immigration and other public policies: fear and anxiety about demographic change and the unconscious prejudice. The good news is research shows that when we address people's fears and unconscious bias directly, we can successfully shift the attitudes and opinions to be more accepting. To achieve the fully inclusive, equitable society we envision for America, we know that much more needs to be done beyond talking. We need people to see the world differently and see what's possible when we truly value one another and come together around positive vision for communities and country. But change almost always starts with conversation. So the more conversation that we have, the bigger the difference we can make. What's important to remember within conversation is accurate narrative. I've been a little frustrated with the narrative that we often hear after racist attacks or crimes and hate speech against Muslims. The response that you typically is this isn't who we are. And for many minorities, myself included, a sort of sigh or an eye roll tends to follow because our experiences have been vastly different. So finally, in one of these meetings in my community of Alexandria, I stood up and said, look, this is who we are. It's not who we want to be, and those are two very different concepts, but the onus is on us to do the work and move us from the current space that we're in. Communities can counteract a negative message and put forward an accurate narrative. Our message is newcomers share our values and need for strong, healthy communities. The third song-changing strategy is leadership. Community members respect the opinions of those individuals they see as leaders. The vocal leaders that help build unity in communities, the vocal supportive leaders that help build unity in communities. And so often, trusted leaders and champions of diverse backgrounds set the tone for a community climate. State and local officials, business leaders, faith leaders, and representatives from health, education, social services, economic development fields, as well as neighborhood civic leaders, and most importantly, newcomers themselves, can all be helpful and champions in building a more welcoming approach. Engaging these diverse leaders can be a positive voice around building a welcoming community and send strong signals that public demographic changes are an opportunity, affirming contributions of all of its residents and the importance of community unity. You got me? Thank you. Thank you.
Somalia is a beautiful country located in the Horn of Africa. In late 80s, civil war broke out. We fled away for our life. We lost everything, and I spent my entire boyhood as a refugee. The reason why I come to Nashville is because of jobs.
The face of America is changing. By 2050, almost a quarter of the workforce will be immigrants. Cities that start to understand this reality will be the ones that succeed in the 21st century. When I first came to Nashville, I found people could be extremely welcoming. But then when I saw them talking about immigrants in their communities, they weren't acting the same way.
When we moved here in 2006, people weren't that accepting and welcoming. Law enforcement raiding Latino families, almost being discredited. The entire immigrant community was kind of framed and vilified.
This descent into fear that Nashville experienced made me feel ashamed. I didn't want to just sit there and let it happen and needed to figure out a way to change it. We set out to engage people in Nashville who had fears, to try to help them understand that this was not a bad thing, but actually an opportunity.
There was leaders getting together around music and just breaking bread and talking to each other. And through that, conversation evolved where people started becoming friends.
We were able to start changing policies and programs within Nashville to help it become the most welcoming city in the Southeast, which it is today.
My favorite thing about Nashville is the culture. I got to put my roots here. I went to college and work here, so this is like my city.
Nashville gained socially and economically. It's a much more united, much more vibrant city. What started here in Nashville is spreading all across the country. In just a couple of years, we're now at over 100 communities who see the value of being welcoming for their social and economic future. And when President Obama came to recognize Nashville for being that, it was a proud moment. I did this work to help immigrants benefit, but what we found out is that everybody benefited.
Today, a growing number of the U.S. communities are taking a page out of Nashville's songbook. Over 100 of them, large, small, urban, and rural, are now part of a welcoming network. These cities are creating new songs by moving from fearful to tolerant to welcoming communities. They're working to strengthen neighborhoods and focus on 7 of the Welcoming America key standards: education and economic development, leadership and equitable access, safe and communities, connected communities, and civic engagement. This is why the work that you all do is so important, because what the divisive rhetoric and the cultural anxiety inducing narratives omit is a significant number of immigrant organizations, leaders, and community members that have worked long and hard to daily improve the quality of life for everyone. Immigrants have organized parents in public schools and worked in community health to improve health outcomes, aided to diversify public policy, helped revitalize our built environments, and become a force at the ballot box. And your work ensures that this force continues. The standard for communities is the core of what it means to be welcoming and sets out smart and local policies, programs, and partnerships that give local communities the welcoming edge. The welcoming standards for us is really our harmony of our song. The standards impact communities by setting goals, building connections, and increasing equitable access. So I want you to take a second, close your eyes, and think about your neighborhood. Do you see it? What are the elements that you love? What connects you to your community? Do you have access to the things that you need? How is the environment? Do you feel included? You can open your eyes. There are some songs that I hear that every time I hear them, they give me a really great feeling. I'm attached to them. Ray Charles' Georgia on My Mind is one of them, and I promise you I won't sing it for you. There are elements of my community that really attach to me. The open spaces, the access to services that I need, the ability to participate fully in my community, including civic participation. These elements, along with many others, should be afforded to all. Unfortunately, barriers such as language access, transportation, and voter restrictions prevent this for some. There was a study conducted by the Knight Foundation and the Gallup poll, which examined the key drivers that create emotional bonds between people and their community. Interestingly, aspects such as jobs and economy and safety were not the usual or the top drivers. Rather, people consistently gave higher ratings for the different elements, such as physical beauty, opportunities for socializing, and communities' openness to all of its people. When examining the factors in the study on its relationship and attachment, the same things tend to arise. Social offerings, people's ability to meet each other, and the feeling that people in the community care about one another. Openness, how welcoming the community is to different types of people, including families with young children, minorities, and immigrants. And the aesthetics, so the beauty of the community, and the availability of parks and green spaces. Forward-thinking communities around the country are recognizing that being a welcoming to new Americans makes them more economically competitive and vibrant for all residents. The growing trend of actively welcoming new Americans counter divisive rhetorics that shows that immigrant inclusion is thriving at the local level. Together, more and more communities are helping to build an understanding between long-term residents and communities and newcomers so that everyone can participate, thrive, and feel a sense of belonging. I'm asking you to join us and sing a song of welcoming. What's your tune? Thank you.